Hi everyone, it's Jerusha. Today is Wednesday, April 19th, 2017, and I'm here to share with you my 9-month dreadlock update. I've got a lot of changes that have happened regarding my hair, and I'm excited to share it with you. But since there are so many, I think it may end up being a two-part video. I hate doing that, but there have been a lot of things, so I'm excited to share it with you. Let's get started. So, the things that I want to cover with you today on my 9-month dreadlock update are topics. So, the number of my dreadlocks, the amount of dreadlocks that I have has changed. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about length. The length of my dreads has changed. I'll talk about that in various ways. It's changed in various ways. What else? Dyeing my hair, refreshing the color that I've been talking with you about in previous videos. So doing that, finding out a little bit about the timing as far as how to do that. I've had a little bit more experience with it. So I mentioned that the number of my dreadlocks has changed, and it's changed in a few different ways. I mentioned, I think on one of my last videos back in March, that one of my dreadlocks, the skinny one, one of the skinny ones that Debbie started at the salon by the interlock method, meaning like the whole dread was started by interlocking. She did that with skinny ones. She made skinny ones all interlock beginning ones. They dreaded just fine, but she just happened to do it with only skinny sections. So I had about maybe total of 6, and one of them, one of the skinniest ones, kind of like back here, back of my head, it came out. It got caught in my Apple Watch one time when I was sleeping or in bed, and it came out. So there's like it's probably about this long, the base of it, which needs to kind of get incorporated into the dreads that are next to it. But I haven't had that done yet. Kind of might need to have someone else do it for me. I haven't been back to Debbie since September of 2016. So today it's like April, middle of April 2017. Have not needed to get maintenance done professionally in all of this time. So that's pretty cool and exciting. I definitely attribute it to big thing DoctoredLocks products that I use. I continue to use DoctoredLocks shampoos, mostly the liquid shampoos that they have, but I do have some of the bars as well, shampoo bars. I also attribute it to the tightening sprays. So this is my favorite scent, Nag Champa. This is the trial size. And the tightening gels. Mainly, I actually like Naughty Boy tightening gel. I have another video on that. So let's see. So I started out with 56 dreadlocks, and that included the 6 that were started with interlocking method. The rest of them were all started with back combing and a little bit of crocheting that Debbie did to kind of give some texture to it. I started about 3 of my own at the beginning by twist and rip method, which I didn't do it very well, so I ended up ripping out my hair while I was doing it. So let's see, mostly back combing is the method that was started with my hair. So the interlock ones, the ones that were started by interlocking, were all skinny ones, skinnier than any of these that you see here. Okay, skinny. I mean, really skinny ones. I don't even know if I can find any for you right now because it will ruin the surprise about something else later on that I'm going to share with you. But so the one that got ripped off, getting caught in my Apple Watch, I still have the one that came off. The base that I told you, it's not dreaded. The base was not dreaded. I mean, it wasn't like where it is right now. It's like whatever's left of the base, it's like this long, is not dreaded. So I can just incorporate it into one of the dreads nearby. But the part that came off, it was dreaded, and it just kind of disconnected, probably with some tension, and the fact that it was more skinny made it more likely to break off. So I started looking around my hair for other ones that were kind of too skinny, I thought, because I really didn't want to lose any more dreadlocks that way. I didn't want them to pull off. So I started looking around for the ones that were the skinny ones left. There were 2 other ones, one here and one kind of in the back here. And then I looked with a mirror in the back to see, like, okay, where would it, like, if I wanted to combine it with another dread, those 2 different ones that I had left of those, which one would be the best as far as like where it's located, which one would be the best to combine it with. And then I've been watching a lot of dread videos on how to combine dreadlocks, and because people like to have thicker dreadlocks. It's kind of like the trend is to get, like, instead of skinnier and skinnier dreadlocks, you can make them thicker and, you know, fatter. So I was thinking, you know, it will be a lot more substantial, more, you know, resilient if they were thicker. So I found one next to it, looked at it in the mirror, look at the base, and then thought, okay, you know, twisting it around kind of like a spiral would be one of the ways that a lot of people do combine dreadlocks. And so I did that with one that's in the back here. I combined it with one, and I kind of did a spiral, and then I attached with some small ponytail holders up the length. You can get actually these really small ones I found at the beauty supply store that's kind of like a wig shop in our house, in our hometown here, Portland, Oregon. It's in the part of the ethnic community here. There are a couple different wig shops that have other beauty supplies that are related to hair. So I found this little ponytail holder. So I put it around the two after I sort of spiraled it, and then I kept it like that for a little while just to see how it did together. And then I eventually combined it by doing an interlocking type procedure. But that's how I permanently combined the two that I did the spiral with. I'll show you that later, maybe, if I'm able to. It's really hard because my new place where I'm still at has really bad lighting, really bad set. You know, you see this like light switch here. It's just awful. I don't like it. I don't want to complain for you, but so it's really hard for me to show you like the back and the different things like with what I've done up close. But I did do an interlocking where I basically like made 3 holes in the larger dread that I was combining the skinnier one with my interlocking tool that I have. It's like a small one that I've showed you before. It's like $45 or $39 on Amazon. I forget what it's called. Easy Lock? Yeah, Easy Lock tool. It's like about this long. Comes in a fancy little box, and you make a hole through the dread that you want to kind of interlock by, you know, interlock your roots. You can use it for, or like this one. And then the other dread kind of like pulls through. It's kind of like a little, like a needle that you use for a dreadlock instead of for thread. You can actually use to thread a dreadlock through another dreadlock. So I won't be able to show you that right now until I come up with a better way of showing you the back of my head. Another way that the number of my dreads have changed, so I did combine that one, not the one that broke off, but another one that was skinnier back here by twisting it around and like making the hole through and like kind of combining them that way. Another way I changed the number of dreadlocks from 56, that was then 55. Well, I took out one dreadlock. So I have my part here on this side, my left side, and then these 2 dreads in the front here used to be part of my dread fringe. Well, got them dreaded back in September. And then this one above my ear, dreaded. So Debbie didn't really want to make the stuff in between here a dreadlock because she said it was too thin. So she kind of like assigned some to here, some to here, some to behind. And then she said, well, Jerish, if you want to like make this stuff here into a dreadlock, wait till it gets longer and you can do it yourself. But she didn't really want to. I had already dreaded this stuff here on the other side. So my part's slightly over to the right. I chose the part. It's not my natural part. But so I had made 3 dreadlocks. This one, and then the one above my ear here. So I made these myself before I saw her. Sometime in the beginning of September, maybe at the end of August, I had made these. I also had made one here in the middle. But I noticed that when I pulled my hair back, it showed the scalp more on my left side, just because this was a dreadlock. So it was pulled together here, and it just pulled back. When I pulled it back, just showed a lot more of my scalp here and here than it did on the side that Debbie had done, where she chose not to dread the section here. So just like when I pull this side back, it just looked actually fine. It didn't show my scalp as much. But on the side that I had dreaded all of it, it did. So decided to, about 2 weeks ago, I took the back side of the comb I got from DoctoredLocks, the rat tail comb. Didn't even know why I would ever use this because I was done dreading my hair, you know. And this, why would I ever take my dreadlocks out? So why would I use this part? Well, I did use this. So when I dreaded it, I left a lot of distance here at the roots, undreaded. And also I tried to leave a bunch here at the ends. So only the middle part is dreaded purposely. So I just started picking it out, this middle one, got rid of it. And because I was like, well, if it's not a dread and it looks, you know, like this side, and just pull it back. When I do pull it back, it's going to look like this instead of the way I showed you before. This and this. So you see this and this, my scalp. And so I did. I removed one of the dreadlocks. So now I'm down to 54 dreadlocks, right? Started with 56, combined these two, so that's 55. And then got rid of this one, that's 54. I do think that was a good decision that I made. Some things that I noticed when I did remove this dreadlock, this middle one here, is that what came out was, well, fallen hair, right? Hair that would have been shedded anyway comes out when you remove dreadlocks. The other thing was lint, gray lint. I might have referred to before, not very much, but briefly, Yanni, the lockologist, talks about lint in the dreadlocks and how it's something that's unavoidable. It's everywhere. Lint is in the, it's kind of like dust. It's part of dust from fabrics. So you'll get it in your dreadlocks. And people with really dark hair, sometimes their dreadlocks will start to look lighter or more gray because there's lint in there. Well, you can't really avoid it. So she actually recommends dyeing your hair, even if it's to your natural color. I do dye my hair, and also the other thing about dyeing it, because it's permanent dye that she recommends, it does like sort of sanitize with the peroxide that they use and the chemicals. It sanitizes your hair as well. So she recommends dyeing your hair to get rid of the lint. You're not really getting rid of it. You can't get it out because it's stuck in the middle of your dreads, but she's saying, you know, to get your hair back to the color that you want it to be, the true color, instead of like a grayish version of it. So that was something that I did notice that came out of this dread when I removed it. It had only been in there since September. So how many months is that? Like maybe 8 or so, 8 months. But there was gray lint that came out of it as well. So regarding length, my dreads, 9 months old, right? They kept shrinking. They kept shrinking and shrinking. They're up to here. They were sticking out lots of places. And yeah, and so also the loose ends that I had here, like I purposely wanted loose ends, not blended ends. Well, a lot of the loose ends started to disappear, either by being sucked up into the dread, or I had this little habit, I have nervous habits of taking them and kind of pulling it. And if it kept coming, that it was loose, it was fallen hair, so it came from the roots. And I would throw it in the trash can. So some of my ends stopped having loose ends, and they actually, like this one's one of them, hardly anything left here of this one. You see I have a ponytail holder around it. I have this one marked. I'll share with you what that's about a little bit later. But so my hair really went from the middle of my back to this long. And you see how there's like different thicknesses? Well, partly because I wanted texturizing, so I wanted it to be different, like bumpiness. I actually prefer that, but also because the fallen hair goes in cycles, and your hair disconnects from your roots in cycles. And so the part that's thickest here is because this hair is no longer, a lot of this hair is no longer connected to my scalp. But this stuff is connected to my scalp. So it's skinnier and it's going to go back and forth. And when it disconnects, it kind of like works its way down a little bit. And that's what helps it dread from the root, actually. Starts to dread about this far from the root. There's a really good video by Astrid that she actually draws it out on a chalkboard or something, like the way that when your hair disconnects from the root in the dreadlock, how it creates the dreading, the knotting, how disconnecting actually helps it to dread from the root. Doesn't do it like right up against the scalp, because that would actually be healthy. Wouldn't be good to have like your hair dreaded up to the scalp. That's why when people get maintenance, and they talk about how it hurts for days and they have to take, you know, sometimes pain reliever because their scalp is so sore after they get maintenance on their roots. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I guess I don't have a sensitive scalp, but I think that sounds like bullshit. It sounds like the person is the maintainer, the salonist, or whoever's doing their maintenance is not really respecting the fact that you do not dread up to the roots. You don't maintain up to the roots. You should give a good amount, like at least half an inch, I believe, space between dreading and the scalp, because your hair, you can't, you know, it needs to move around when you like lay on it or whatever. It needs to be able to go different directions. It's not supposed to be pulling so much. So yes, there are people that have really sensitive scalps. Like a lot of people have more sensitive scalps than me possibly, but, it's not supposed to be dreaded so up close. And even if you get maintenance, I don't believe it's supposed to. So right here, this is from here to here. It's not dreaded. That's natural. That's natural. Okay. And it's not because I retwist, because I don't really retwist very much at all. I've gone back and forth about that, but your hair really shouldn't be dreading all the way up to the root. And when they maintain it, it should not be maintained up to the root. I'm not a professional, but I know that it kind of settles in and kind of like pulls back down afterwards. But I don't think people should be having, when they get maintenance, I don't believe the salon person should be doing it quite so tight, is what I would say, because I've heard it so many times that people get really sore scalp after they get maintenance. And yeah, you want to get what you're paying for as far as maintenance goes. It's expensive to get your hair, your roots maintained, but why so tight? I don't know. I mean, some people like to have the really perfect like shapes and patterns, but a lot of Caucasian people don't have such thick, dense hair. So we're not getting patterns anyway on our, we're not getting patterns. We're just kind of like getting the roots maintained so that it's not frizzy, loose hair here. But you do see I've got a lot of loose hair, and I have that throughout the back. I've figured out that I actually like the way that it looks. I feel like it's okay, but only because I have extended the length of my hair. I have gotten extensions, I've made extensions, and I have installed them in my hair. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and it's been really fun. So I did a video maybe back in October about shady human hair, purchasing hair at a beauty supply store. And I had an experience where I went there and I was trying to purchase some hair specifically to extend my dreadlocks, make dreadlocks, and install them to attach to my dreadlocks to extend them. And I had a weird experience where the people at the place, one of the beauty supply stores here, one of the two in the neighborhood I live in, they were acting shady about it. They weren't showing it to me. They were saying it was in the back. They asked me how much I wanted, because I told them I wanted it for dreading hair. And so dreading my hair, so I wanted it to tangle. I didn't want it to be like tangle free. It didn't have to be high quality because I didn't want it to be, you know, really processed and everything, so that I wanted it to be able to tangle. And they were acting weird. They were also looking off to the side at this couple that were in the store, and I didn't know if it was because they were afraid that they were going to steal something from the store or what. But later I found out that it was probably because they were afraid that those people were law enforcement and they didn't want to talk to me about it. They wanted to wait or something. So someone commented on that video and said, you know, actually, one of the places that unethically sourced hair comes from sometimes is illegal, but sometimes people will sell hair who work in a funeral parlor, you know, people that like do not just cremations, but also like burials and whatever it's called, embalming. they will sometimes cut the hair off of the person who's dead and they will sell it to these places to resell. So that might have been the person that commented on my video. I don't know if I published it or not, but the comment, they said that maybe it was actually coming from like people that were dead they were taking the hair off of, and maybe that's why it was in the back, because it wasn't on the shelf, or not even, it wasn't even out front, because you know usually human hair is more expensive, so they won't always put it on the shelf, but they'll put it somewhere where they can bring it out in front of you and you can see it and it's labeled and everything. But this was not being presented to me, and was kind of like they were giving me the runaround as far as showing it to me, and they were asking me how much I wanted. I wasn't sure. I said, I need to see what it is so that I can tell you how much I want, because I'm not sure. I've never bought this before. I don't know like how many ounces or whatever I would want. So anyway, that was me. I decided that back in October that I was not going to do extensions because of that. So after my hair kept getting shorter and shorter and shrinking, I decided, yes, I am going to look into human hair extensions, not just synthetic, but human hair extensions. And I want to make them myself. Well, that wasn't my original thing. I was going to actually, for my own birthday, my mom gave me some birthday money, and I was going to use that to call Debbie and ask her to do extensions on my hair. Human hair extensions, so that I could dye it to match my hair, have her install them for me. And then I did not hear back from Debbie, and I don't know if it's because I did send her a photo of my hair, and it was a photo that I've showed you guys before, but it showed this, and I have a feeling she didn't get back to me. Maybe she's on vacation or something, but I have a feeling my hair is a little too mature to actually, like a little too tight to actually do extensions. She probably wouldn't want to. And also, you have to make the extensions for each dread because you want to match the thickness. So you don't just necessarily buy extensions that are all the same thickness when you got dreads like this where they're all different. See? So you got to figure out how you're going to match it up and then attach it. And when you're attaching it, when they're this tight, it's hard to get like a crochet needle through here to attach the extensions there. So I decided, since I didn't hear back from Debbie, still haven't, maybe she's way busy making dreadlocks, and I decided to do it myself. So I went to the other beauty supply store that sells wigs, and the one that wasn't as shady seeming, actually more, it's a chain, and I asked for human hair that does not need to be very long at all, because I don't want to extend my hair. I don't want to extend my dreads for very long. So maybe like 12 inches. I'd want less than 12 inches in dreading. I said I want it for making dreadlocks. So I don't want it to be shiny. I don't want it to be like really tangle free, because a lot of times they say tangle free on the human hair. I did not want that. I didn't want them to have treated it to not tangle. I wanted low quality, potentially even non-Remy, which means I think it doesn't have, it's like potentially fallen hair, like taken out of someone's hairbrush and then like straightened out so that you got it all going in the same direction. What else? So I didn't want the really shiny stuff that's really high quality. And I thought maybe it would be, I guess I had worked my head around the ethics of it, the ethics of people being so poor that they would sell their hair for money, for food, or for their family. I had worked my head around the different options, done some research online, and just decided I'm okay with having someone else with me. Just like I'm okay with taxidermied animals, because I love animals. I come from a family who hunts animals and always never hunts more than what we can eat. And so I'm okay with that. I do eat meat, and taxidermy animals is like, if you love an animal, if you think it's beautiful, you're not just killing it for a trophy. You're not just killing it just because of sport. You actually want to like consume the animal or whatever. And you also maybe want to appreciate it by having it taxidermied. So I'm okay with that. So I kind of think of it that way, not like we're killing humans for their hair, but who knows? So I got hair that I, you know, was asking the woman behind the counter, what hair do you have that's like lower quality somehow? And this is what I want to do with it. And I want it to be hopefully not dark colored, because I did read that if you're going to dye it, you know, while it's on your head or before, depending on where you want to do it. I decided to do it after I extended it on my hair. That it's better to have like lighter color, dyeing it towards a darker color, than darker color that you want to lighten, because they do some processing to it. Depending on where this hair comes from, it usually comes from China, and they do this thing where they put it in an acid bath and strip off the cuticle, which is the protective covering of the hair, which also makes it thicker and more coarse. And then they put another coating on it. And I couldn't tell if this hair that I was buying had that on or not. The woman said, no, it does not. But she said, this is really old hair. I'm going to show it to you. I have sectioned it and cut it apart. But this is the hair. It's got this curl that they probably put in it. This hair is more coarse than my natural hair. And they say you're only supposed to do extensions with hair that's like the same texture as your own. Well, yeah, this is the closest I could find to my texture. So it looks like it's curled probably by, you know, processing. And it doesn't say where it comes from. It doesn't say the country it comes from. It may have been, not sure. I did save the packaging, but it's like this one possibly. Doesn't say where it comes from. Made in China. Okay, China, right? Chinese. So this may be Chinese hair, which people with Asian hair, often their hair is really coarse and really like stands out. Like if you pick it up, it doesn't just like go down, it stands straight out because it's very coarse. So that's why they strip off the cuticle. And then they usually replace the cuticle with something kind of like plastic, which doesn't last as long. But when it does come off, you've got tangly hair, which for people with dreadlocks, maybe you don't mind. So there's possibility that this is that kind of hair. Non-Remy, possibly. And she said this is really old. She said she could smell it, that it was old. Like she took it out of the packaging. It comes in like a plastic sleeve, like all of the stuff does. And it was marked down somewhat, but it was still at least $20 for a whole bunch of it. This is what's left after I made the extensions. This is probably like a quarter of the amount of hair that I made the extensions that I have in my hair right now from. Maybe like, it's definitely more than 16 inches length. But the extensions I made from this were way too long. I had to, when I had them, I made the extensions, which this is one. This is a lot skinnier than most of the ones I made. You leave a part at the top here that's not dreaded. And see, this one was hand sewn, kind of like a hand sewing machine, not a, I don't know, like run by a person anyway. That's the kind of sewing that was at the top of this hair, all of this hair. It looks really different than the weft that you will see at a lot of stores that sell human hair. This sewing is really different than that. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, you're supposed to leave quite a distance here at the top, because you use this to overlap with your dread and then weave it in. This has ended up being way too much anyway, and I ended up kind of snipping it down. And then this is a lot skinnier than the one I had, or the ones that I've inserted. But then it was like way too far down. They were way too long, even though I know they're going to shrink up as they mature, because they are going to mature. They're baby dreads now. They're going to mature just like my hair matured. So they are going to get shorter, but still I couldn't handle them being that long. So I went and actually cut them off. I cut the ends off, the bottoms off of the dreads after I'd had them in for a few days. So here we go. I kept them. So I liked how at the bottoms, because I left it undreaded here. So there's a nice little curl at the bottom, loose ends, different thicknesses. I did cut down in here later because I'm going to attach these to some of my dreads. Some of the dreads I don't really want much longer. So I'm going to just like find a way to attach these to the end. So there are fake, kind of like fake. They're real human hair, but they're going to be loose ends attached to my dreads, some of them. So this is how much I cut off of these dreads. Probably about, not quite 6 inches, some of them longer, some of them more than others. But this I cut off of the extensions that I made and attached because I didn't want them to be that long. And then I had to kind of get rid of the dreading because I'm like snipping them off. And I had to, well, what I decided to do was take the part that was dreaded after I cut it and kind of like comb it out so that it would be loose ends. This one I didn't do quite as much. And then when I would cut it, like, because I wanted it to be kind of pointy, like those are right there. So I like go up here in the middle and I would like kind of go and cut up like randomly. So then there is one, well, there are a few that I have. So I didn't extend this one. This one's not extended here. I decided not to make them any longer. The ones that were here towards my face, from here forward, I have sections so that I don't do extensions on those because the hair around my face is just fine. Like the length, shorter length, because it won't like fall in my face. Actually, I've got a whole lot more hair. I've extended probably like 10 maybe of these are extended, and some of them have been dyed with my hair, which is this. This is the color I use, Vidace Sassoon Solanist. Still my favorite. Still love it a lot. It's intense red copper. I can only find it on Amazon, this color. They don't sell this color in my grocery store. They sell this product, but not the color that I like. The color number is 7/43 with a little 2 up there. So that's the number of the color. But I still love this a lot. And I don't use the little serum packet, by the way. I don't like it because it makes it more liquidy and harder to wash out of the dreadlocks. So some of this hair that I've done extensions with has been dyed the color with my hair, and some of it hasn't. And you see here, I did some wrapping before I like sewed it through my dread. So I don't mind the way it looks, but there. And there's another one where you can see it's kind of like wrapped around and kind of shiny. I kind of like the textures though. So yes, so I wanted to share with you a little bit about my extensions. I don't know if you can see exactly where I've done the extensions. So depending on the lighting, you can tell, and depending on what you're looking for, you can tell. So some of them, like this one, I have not dyed the hair that I extended it with. So this one's like straw colored, the extension. This is my natural hair, my dreadlock. Then I extended it with a couple kinds of hair. I used Afro Kink Bulk, which I'll show you here. So the Afro Kink Bulk comes like this, and it says 16 inches. Somewhere it says 16 inches. Yeah, kinky weave, 16 inches. They've definitely lightened the hair color. You can find Afro Bulk, I believe, in this color and also black or dark brown. Says 100% superior human hair. There's twice as much as this. So this one and the other one came in a package with this square thing around it. It was $20, and then there's 20% off of that because it was on the sale rack. So they have this like hairnet on it, but this is the part that doesn't. So it's sewn onto a weft. This is when I speak about a hair weft that's commercially sewn, like by a machine really well. This is what I mean. It's like I didn't take this all out of here because actually I'm cutting it off of the weft because I am using this length from here to here, 16 inches, which is 16 inches pulled straight, by the way, not like when it's like kinky. I'm using this to sew and attach my extensions that I make. I'm attaching it with this stuff. This is like sort of like the thread that I'm using to attach it. So since it has a kinky texture, it does pull straight when I like sew it with like a wide, like a needle that has a big eye, and then it will kind of tend to scrunch up like you want stuff to do when you want it to drag. You want it to shrink up, scrunch up, and that's what this is going to do. So I bought this stuff later. This is not what I made the extensions out of. This is what I'm using to attach the extensions. You can also thicken your dreads if you have like weak spots or thin spots or whatever. DoctoredLocks has a video about how to use Afro bulk, it's called, to randomly just like strengthen parts of your dreads or whatever. So this is what they show. This is the color they show. And this is what I got at my local beauty supply store, which is not Sally's, by the way. I just want you to know, because I mentioned in a previous video that like a chain beauty supply store. I did not mean Sally's. I'm not going to Sally's. I know that there are Sally's here in Portland, Oregon. I just haven't gone there for this because I go to beauty supply stores that are in the ethnic neighborhood, close to the ethnic neighborhood at least, here in Northeast Portland. And they have a lot more hair, a lot more human hair, and also other kinds of synthetic hair as well. And I don't know about Sally's. I'm sure they have some, but I'm going to places that have like the most because I'm looking for extensions. People make extensions, people, you know, Sally's is like all kinds of beauty supply. Okay. This is like mainly hair stuff. So when I say a chain, it's not Sally's. It's a chain that's more of a local chain. I'm not going to say the name of it, but because you probably don't even know what it is. You probably have never heard of it before unless you live in Portland, Oregon. So this is the stuff that I bought most recently. Twice this much hair. It was $20. Then it was on sale for 20% less than that. So that's what I'm using to attach it, and also can fill in little areas if I want to. And the other hair that I had before I had the Afro kink bulk to use to attach the extensions was this hair. This hair is, I'm not sure how long this is. I think it is number 27. That's the color. Here. Color 27. So 27 is actually the closest to my natural hair color before I dyed it. And so I figured, well, that color and then dyeing it with my hair naturally. So this stuff that's like really yellow, that's the Afro kink bulk that I just showed you. This stuff, that's what this is. It's not been dyed yet. Most of the hair I have that's extended is dyed, but this stuff is not. That's like sticking out really well. When I dyed my hair altogether, because my natural hair dreads were due for a dye because they hadn't been dyed since the end of January, and it's now April 19th. So my roots and all of it really had faded as well. This right here is all my natural dreads. They're darker. My natural dreads are darker than even when I dyed the extensions. So this is fully dyed extensions, I believe. It turned out lighter than my natural hair. So there it is with the extension. Yeah. So this stuff I didn't use to actually make the dreadlocks. I used the curly, like wavy stuff that I showed you. That was the old hair. But this I used kind of like in very small amounts to kind of attach the dreads and wrap it around a little bit and then go through the dreads and the extensions to attach the extensions to my natural hair. This has a little bit of a kinkiness to it, and it looks like they straightened it. This is not the old hair. This is like a little bit newer, but it is the same color supposedly. So I really think this is nice and it feels really good. I'll probably use this. I'll definitely use this because this is really nice stuff. smells kind of like more like new clothing than it does like person's hair. So I think they've put some chemicals in here. I use these clips because when it comes out, this stuff was not sewn to a weft. In fact, I should probably know which is the top and the bottom, because with human hair, if you touch it like in the direction going from the scalp towards the ends, it's supposed to be smooth. And then because your cuticle is like overlapped like shingles, it's supposed to be like smooth when you go down your hair, but sliding your fingers up the hair, it's supposed to be less smooth. Well, more resistance. Well, yeah, it does feel like more resistance. But if it's not sewn to a weft at the top, you don't really always keep track of which is the top and the bottom, which I guess when you're making dreadlocks, it doesn't matter as much, because if you do it upside down, like maybe that's going to make it more likely to tangle. I don't know. But yeah, so this is there and there, and this stuff was not sewn to a weft, so I don't know which is the top and the bottom anymore. I lost track of it. The other stuff that I showed you was sewn to a weft, but it doesn't feel like more resistance going backwards than forwards, which to me means what DoctoredLocks video says to tell the difference is that it probably means that it was coated, meaning the acid mantle, or the acid, they dipped it in an acid bath to remove the cuticle and then put a plastic coating on this human hair, and that stuff, so that makes it so that there's not resistance when you run your hair up it or down it.